Now, you might say, well, okay, how did you use this? Well, you can see it a little bit here, but I've also used it on the background as a stencil. So we're gonna have a look at how to do that. I have the stamps are from this lovely set, this Aall Create at One with Nature set, which we're going to stamp out in a moment. So we've got some inky, messy round background things, and then some stamping again with a bit of ink. And what the colours I'm using, I've got a bit of black soot, I've got fired brick and cracked pistachio, and I've also got the fired brick and the cracked pistachio that way around in the distress spray. So that's the colours that I am using on this. I have stamped the actual images with the Spectrum Noir waterproof dye because particularly on this one, I've actually painted with the distress inks and I didn't want the actual stamp to run. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with the inky background and then that can be slightly drying while we're doing other things. So let's put the dye and the stamps to one side. Now I have used watercolor card for this. The way I've done this is very much like how I do things in my art journal. So I kind of went for a similar sort of texture paper to the one I would use in there. So we're going to start by doing our inking with our two pads. Bear with me while I grab my brushes. I've got one for my pistachio and this one will do for the brick. With my brushes, I don't have one for every ink, but I do have a few for each colour collection, so I kind of roughly know which brushes to use. I'm just going to put it's a bit cold in here today, so I've got lots of layers on, so my sleeves are a little bit, so just pulling them up. Right, so we're going to start literally by inking our piece of card. And there's a rule, I suppose people talk about the rule of three, cutting things into or separating things into three sections. So it's pretty much what I've done here. I've done the fire brick in from the edge and the cracked pistachio in the middle. And in fact, thinking about it, I did do the cracked pistachio first, which I will do now. So I am just literally loading the brush because once you've got the ink, this will sit. So I felt like I shouted then. I do apologise. This will sit on the top of the card for a little while, and that's what allows you to blend. I don't know. You can kind of see it's a little bit still shiny where it's still wet, and that's what we want because we want to be able to, for this layer, we want to be able to blend these two together. They're not. For example, if you were blending red and orange and yellow like I will be on the next project, then those colours blend quite well. They kind of merge into one another. But red and green don't do that. So you've got to be careful that you don't end up with a muddy mess. I'm just using a piece of tissue to try and stop some mess on my hands, but also to stop me putting my fingerprints over the top of that bit that I've already inked. So what I'm doing is I'm now doing my fired brick in this corner, and now obviously that doesn't look very blended. So, and a lot of people worry about brushes getting contaminated. I do this all the time and I've not really had an issue with it. So all I'm doing is I'm going over and I get some more. See, look, there's no red come on there. A bit more green on here. Let's take my green over into the red. The red is in any medium. Red is a very, very strong pigment, so it does tend to dominate. So just be a little bit careful. As you can see, I've probably got a bit more red in there than I would perhaps have wanted. But you can see it is definitely much more blended than it was before. So let's do the same this corner. I'm not going to take the red into the green so much this time. Just up to it, and then I'll bring the green so that I don't lose that green. I was going to use it anyway. Never mind, let's just go with it. It all looks fine. It will all come out in the wash. Now, this, as I said, this is at the moment, this is quite wet on the surface, which is why I'm able to move it around, why I'm able to blend it. But what I want now is for that to be set before I put the sprays on. So I'm just going to move it to the side. We're just going to clean this up a little bit with my water and a bit of rice paper. Okie dokie. Down there for now. So I'm going to just get my this thing heat tool. Sorry, brain has just gone. Okay, so with that heat set, now when I spray onto it, the spray is not going to sort of melt in with the inks. It will sit on the top. So let me show you what I mean. So the sprays, there's a ball bearing in. Oh, you can hear my Gemini rattling when I do that. You can do them up and down. If you're going to do them up and down, take the lid off and put a little bit of paper towel over the top so that you don't lose all the ink. Okay, so what should we start with? Let's start with the cracked pistachio. Okay. This I love this one as it gives a really nice splatter effect. Okay, and you can see that that's kind of sitting on the top. I'm going to use a little bit of the fabric. I don't want to use too much because, again, like I said, red is a quite a strong pigment. So that's all I'm going to use of that one, but it's enough to have just given that kind of speckledy look and splattered look through the middle. And again, I'm just going to move that to one side and clean up. Yeah. Okay, that's that done. And then I'm going to get, hopefully this will work. Sometimes it has a, oh yes it will, that's good. So I'm just going to dry this off. You can see, particularly with the cracked pistachio spray over the top of the fired brick ink, it really does sit beautifully on the top of that. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side. I haven't finished with it, but there is something I now need to do ready for the next stage, and that is to cut the die. So I'm using white card, and I am going to just cut this with the machine. Through. Ooh. And out. Go. So we're going to use this. Just make sure it's cut. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. Over there. We're going to use this in 2 ways. We're going to use it like a stencil, and I don't know if you can see here the red. That's where I've used it as a stencil, and then these bits here, that's where I've literally just cut the stencil up and used it as a little bit of texture. So put that in the bin. Get my brush. More bits come out. Let's just have a quick look. In bits that I was poking out just now, those little bits there. Oh, that wasn't what you wanted to do. What bits were stuck in the card now? Where's that? There. Okay. Oh, and that one there. Okay, that'll do. As I'm gonna cut it up anyway. It's not a huge issue. Let's put the die back in there. And clean up my mess. Oh, I can see I've managed to spray the table, so I am just going to try and clean that up before I completely stain the table. Maybe too late. Okay, right. What I did before I used this as a stencil was I cut off 2 of the edges with my scissors, just because it gave it less of a hard edge. When you're stenciling, you don't kind of want always a hard defined edge. Ooh. So just cut those bits off. Oh, I did. Well, my scissors getting really in the way. Okay, now I'm going to use it as a stencil, and I'm going to start with using cracked pistachio, and we're going to use it over here. So I'm just going to I'm not going in really hard with the ink this time, just a bit. I don't want it to move. And really you can see the effect that it has there. You can see where I put the ink on, but where the die cut has acted like a stencil, and we're going to do the same down here. Just going over with my brush, and again you can see the effect there of using it as a stencil. I'm not too worried that it all looks the same. This is just all adding texture, and then I'm going to do a little bit with the fired brick as well, but not too much, just a little bit. A little bit in the corner there, and a little bit in the corner here. So just gives a little bit of an impression. So before I finish with my ink brushes, I am going to just finish putting some ink over this, because this is the bit that I'm going to cut up to create my texture. So I seem to have all the green in one place and all the red in another today. Not to worry. A bit more green there, and a bit more red there, and there, and a bit there. Okay, I'm going to put that to one side to cut up shortly. Put those out still for a bit of stamping. Let's move those to the side. Just clean this up. Right, okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, in fact, I'm not going to do that right now because I want to just, I'll let that dry a bit. I'm going to stamp out our bits that we want for the cards. So I have used, let's open this out. Ooh. You can see I put a bit of paper in here when I was doing the example, so I can kind of see where I stamped everything. Let's take the set out. So I am going to use the label. And I think I have the label down there, so I'm going to put that there. I will move the copy of paper in a moment. What else did I have? I had this big daisy, gerbera, there, too, and it has one with nature, and I've got these here, these little ones. It has one with nature. Okay. Oh, I need to put them face down. I need to put them face down because when this comes over, it will take them back. So I'm going to do that. And then I am going to get my piece of card that I want to stamp onto. It's going everywhere. Get the card in. Okay, so I am using the Finesse, Spectrum Noir Finesse waterproof die, and I'm using Flagstone, which is a kind of a grey, dark grey black. Now, one thing, and you can see it on my stamp, I just move this. I don't want, this says rosemary, and I don't want that on my particular project. So, I'm going to ink the daisy up. I'm going to ink these. And the thing is, if I can't 100% see whether I've got enough ink on, but I'll know when I put it over there. So with this, I made sure I did this top bit first. And then carefully, she says, I might just have moved myself out of dot there. So just bear with me. Trying to make sure I'm getting the edge, but not that word. So going to we'll see. Proof is in the pudding. You may need some more. So that goes down. Good push down. And we'll see what we've got. Okay, so I need a little bit more pressure. Normally at home I would stand up. Bear with me. I put the pressure on. Right, I've got the daisy. I think I might need a bit more ink on the tag. Yeah, let's put a little bit more ink. This is the beauty of a stamping platform, is you can go back, you can re-ink, you can add more ink. Where did I not? I didn't get it at the bottom somewhere. Oh, I can feel now I've just put it on the lid of my stamping platform. So I'm just gonna grab. Do you know, I get it in more of a mess stamping like this than I do when I'm doing on my inky backgrounds, because I end up with ink in the wrong place and I put my elbow in it. Right, let's see what we've got now. Okay. I am just going to do this, excuse me, totally obliterate your image of what I'm doing. You can see the top of my head, but I do apologise. We'll go with that because I am going to paint over that. It's me faffing rather than. I'm going to give it one go. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can get some ink from that to go to my ink. Let's see how we go this time. Yeah, that'll do. We'll go with that because I want it to be quite arty, so I'm not too worried. So I do want this daisy stamp for my background, so I'm just going to take that one off and put it on there. Yeah, that's the only one I want. So what I'm going to do, rather than faffing around putting those away, I'm just going to put my little bit of copy paper back in and close the lid and put that to one side. Okay, right. So I am now going to cut these out. Oh, look. Sometimes I know quite often these days you get sets of stamps that come with the dies to cut them out, but sometimes you just don't need them. Nice just little bit of fussy cutting. It's quite straightforward. This is a tag, is a lovely one. Let's cut that round. Like so. Okay, that's that done. I'm going to cut straight up there. I am going to get my smaller scissors for this little kind of Gerber daisy. Get rid of the excess. And then, again, excuse my bit of hair. I'm going to go round. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to paint this Gerber with the fired brick. And I'm going to ink the tag mostly with cracked pistachio, but then paint a little bit over. You can see I went over a little bit over these with the fire brick, and the same with here. Just that was just inking over cracked pistachio, and then edging with the fired brick. So just bear with me while I cut this out. And this one it's not a tricky one to cut, and actually it's quite forgiving if you do kind of miss a little bit, because the petals are uneven. It's not like one of those sort of more abstract symmetrical things that will show if you've made a little bit of a move. This kind of doesn't. It's very forgiving, and I don't want to sort of, as they say, teach your granny to suck eggs, but if you're not familiar with fussy cutting, it's more a case you keep the scissors still and you move the card. So you're not going backwards and forwards with the scissors like that. The scissors kind of stay there and you move the card around as you're cutting. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But that said, I will still manage to cut off butterfly antennae and all those kind of tiny, weeny little things on some of them. Right, so there's our Gerber cut out. There's our tag cut out. And then with these, I am not even bothering with my guillotine. I'm quite happy for them to be fairly irregular. And uneven, so I'm just literally cutting them with my scissors. Let's make sure I haven't lost them all. There's at. I'm just looking for one. Where did one go? Oh, there it is. one. So let's put those 4 there. Okay. I'm going to put those to one side for the moment. I'm going to go back to this stamp and back to my background here. And I'm going to now use this to stamp with. Now, I might still have a bit of ink on here, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Oh, no. I think we're done with that. That's good. So, we're going to use the fabric. When I tried putting the cracked pistachio on, excuse me, it didn't really show up. So I'm just going to go with fabric and a bit of black soot. And again, this is one where I'm not worrying if I've covered the stamp completely. I don't really want to obliterate too much where I've got that lovely stenciling. So kind of just choose your places where it's going to be visible but not obliterate other things. That's probably enough. Maybe a little bit up there. And then I'm just going to do it once with the black soot. But before I stamp that on, I am just going to stamp it off on the paper just to get rid of the really dark bit of it. I just want it to kind of just show a little bit. That will do. So done with the stamp. Now we can get back. Oh yes, no, there's nothing else I want to do for that at the moment. So that can go to dry as well. And we are going to. I'm just going to grab my punch here, my crocodile. I'm just going to get rid of the hole. Not get rid of the hole, but yeah, punch the hole in the tag. Okay, so I did it 3 times because the hole, the punched hole, is not quite as big as the hole there, but 3 did it. So what I'm going to do is get my cracked pistachio, and I want that to just going to ink over those with a brush. So, and I'm looking, I can see I've got fabric on my fingers, so I'm putting dirty fingerprints everywhere, but I'm not too worried. More of that on. Okay, and then I'm going to go over the 4 words. This is another good reason to use waterproofing, so that I'm putting stuff over the top and it's not going to move. This is water-based. The distress oxides are water-based, so this is waterproof. The waterproof ink that I use. Okay, so that's those, and that's that. And then I'm just going to just do the edges of these with brush. Make it stand out a little bit. Looks like I've done this a lot lighter than that one, but that's okay. I'm not too worried. Leave it to dry for a bit. And then just around the edges of these. I do like with the brushes how you get that kind of little feathered effect when you go round. Okay. At the moment, I'm not too fussed about cleaning up because I'm going to put some of the fired brick on my mat anyway, because that's what I'm going to be painting my gerbera with. So we'll clean the mat in a moment. Let's get these done first so they can be drying. One more. I think I am going to put a little bit more crack pistachio on that tag, but very quickly. A bit more tag. Okay. So I am now going to get my little daisy, and I'm going to grab a brush or two. What have I got? Let me try these two. And I am going to put. Just going to move some of it out of the way so I'm not getting everything wet. Put some fired brick onto my mat. I am going to spray. I'm not going to spray directly on there. I'm going to spray just to the side of it because I want a first wash, which is going to be quite light, and then I can go in with the less dilute. Oh, I've got something on my brush there. Okay, so a little bit more. So I'm literally just going over with like a wash, just to get a base colour onto all the petals. I've got really mucky fingers here. I'm not at the moment worried too much about the direction I'm going in, because in a minute I'm going to start adding in more light and shade. Okay, so if you look at the way the petals have been drawn, you can see where ones overlap each other. So what my intention, excuse me, it's not to cough. What my intention is to do is to show that overlapping with shading. So for every petal, the inside, the inner is darker. I just feel like the whole thing I'm doing is quite light. So this petal here is underneath that one. So just need a bit more shading there. And this petal here is underneath that one. So water. So this should be lighter, and this bit here darker. And again, this bit here is under. So again, should be slightly darker. So all the petals are making it sort of darker near the center and wherever it is underneath. And then I'm going back to my more watered down version and then just bringing that out a little bit. I think there's too much water there. Kind of lost the dark. I'll come back to that one in a minute. I might just block that. A bit too much water on there. Bear with me. Go back in and do my dark there. And then this petal here again, this is underneath, so that one needs to be darker. This one's over the top. It's got nothing on. It's not underneath anything. So literally just making it dark at the base of the petal, and then lighter towards the end. Okay, let's go on to this one. So here, dark there, but then this bit is underneath, so that bit also needs to be dark, and then pick up a bit more water and blend that out. And then this bit here is underneath, so that also needs to be darker. And then yeah, there. Now looking at the one, this petal underneath there, that's underneath there. I do think I did it a lot darker on the one I already done, but you know, it's no problem. Again, so this one is underneath here. So where it's underneath, you just give it a little bit of shadow and bring it out. Darker here and along where it's underneath. And then with a bit of water, just bring that out. It's a bit more dark there, I think. that, and then just keep going round. Pretty much the same for most of these petals. Got one bit that's underneath this one. This one's underneath that, and it's also underneath that. You just sort of pay attention to the drawn image. It kind of tells you where to do your light and your shadow. It's just a case of, you know, looking and thinking about, you know, how these things overlap. Where would a shadow be caused? This one's on the top, so there's nothing, no shadow on that one. This one is underneath there. And then this one is underneath there. And even if you do, you know, do it in slightly, you know, not necessarily anatomically correct. I mean, who's gonna bother? Who's gonna worry? Just add a little bit of shading in some way just to give it that 3D kind of look. Again in there, and it's dark under that bit there. And then in there, this one's on the top, so there's no shading there. And then this one is right at the bottom, so we'll give that a nice little dark shading in there. So that it is. Okay, right. So I'm then just going to put a little bit of the cracked pistachio on my mat. I am just going to clean my brush off in a little bit of water because it's very red at the moment. Oh! Before I clean the red, I am just going to do what I did before, which is to go over some of this. A bit more wet, a bit wetter. I'm just going over some of these on here, just to again blend it in with the colour scheme. I'm not being too fussy if I've got them all directly over. It just sort of gives it a little bit more sort of link to the rest of the colour scheme. Right, so let's just clean the red off that brush and just get a little bit of the I'm not worrying about shading in the middle. I'm just gonna, I know that flowers don't generally have a green centre, but it fits my colour scheme, so that's what it's having. Okay, right, so I think all the bits are done. Let's just have a little bit of a clean up. With a bit of rice paper. Okay, and move things out of my way that I'm not going to knock over, and let's see if we can assemble our card. So I need my base, which is here, and then I know what I do want to do. There's my black suit. There. Oh, I am just going to go around the very edge of this. I am faffing, I know, but I do like to faff when I'm doing inky stuff. So not a huge amount. It just gives it a little bit of an edge. There we go. Over there. Lovely mucky hands. Okay, so that the die cut that we used as a stencil earlier, I'm just sort of deciding where I wanted that on my project, which I think is kind of like that. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the leaf parts and to stick this down. And then we can then put on the tag and the sentiment and the flower. So what I wanted kind of like the green bit up there. Let's get a bit of paper to go over the top. Okay, and then this bit I'm going to put again so that the green bit is more on the red underneath, so it shows up. Okay, and again just a little bit of glue on the back of each of the leaves of this lovely sort of background die. You can do this with any of your kind of background dies. Use them as a stencil, use them to add texture. You don't have to keep them whole. As pretty as they look, like you saw on the previous card, they don't have to stay in one whole piece. Right, so the tag is going to go there. As you can see, I've got much lighter on the embellishments today, but that's okay. That's okay. Right, some 3D glue gel. Let's put this on behind the tag just to lift that up a bit. Put that there. And let's put this on. Actually, no, let's put the flower on first, and then I can see what room I've got for the sentiment. So we'll go there, there, nature. Got to get it in the right order, and that one with would be the next one. And you can just go at a kind of a slightly off angle. That one with nature. So the one I've done now in the live, as you can see, I've been a bit less heavy-handed, I think, with the ink. But it's still is equally a lovely card, just slightly different. I find looking at that, I think I was heavier here with the cracked pistachio than I was on this one. So the red here makes the green pop a bit more. But hey, you never get the same when you do inky kind of things like this. You never ever can get the same thing twice. So excellent.